Hey guys, welcome back to this series between mTw'DIMAGA and mTw'DIMAGA. This is game 3, the last match in the series, or at least the last game in the match or something, I don't know. But yeah, it's going to be mTw'DIMAGA, who is our blue Terran, and he's going to be fighting the red Zerg mTw'DIMAGA. And once again, this is from Blizzcon, and I am bringing you this because I don't believe it was on stream. And if you don't know who I am Sidewinder, and I'm casting this game for your viewing pleasure. So I hope you enjoy it, and I hope it's a very good game like our first two. If you haven't got a chance to watch those, go ahead and watch those, because those are really cool games. Definitely kind of unorthodox TVZs, or ZVTs, again, whichever side you're rooting for. I would think that more people would be rooting for mTw'DIMAGA, because he's a little better known, at least here in the States. mTw'DIMAGA, he did play in the NASL and stuff like that, so North American fans of Starcraft are a little familiar with that, but still, he is kind of foreign to people around these parts, but we will see what happens in this game in particular. mTw'DIMAGA looks like he wants to drop his barracks here a little early on 11 supply. This is on Antigua's shipyard, so if he wanted to go for something like a double 11 barracks, it would never work because the rush distance is just too long, especially since he didn't proxy that. mTw'DIMAGA's trying to figure out where mTw'DIMAGA is, and he's scouting in the wrong position first. mTw'DIMAGA going for a gas here on 12. And I don't know what the reasoning behind skipping an SCV was to get all this stuff out just a little earlier. He must have something else planned behind this that's fairly unusual, but mTw'DIMAGA is just going to go ahead and hatch first. The automaton is in mTw'DIMAGA's base, sniffing the hatchery and doing all sorts of strange work that we could only dream of doing if we were robots, but we're clearly not, and this makes no sense. And mTw'DIMAGA is sending a scout out here to try to figure out where mTw'DIMAGA is. He does not see him here, at least at the natural. He doesn't see an overlord, so he doesn't think that mTw'DIMAGA is there, and he's right, because he's not there. So mTw'DIMAGA is going to take his pool immediately after the hatch. He's going to take his gas a little earlier this time so he can get Zergling speed out as soon as possible. And mTw'DIMAGA is just going for this one barracks, not closing his wall quite yet, as he will need a supply depot here in the very near future. He's continuing SCVs here, of course, landing a mule, which is very necessary if you want to, have minerals and stuff. But this one Marine and another rallied Marine is going to head over to mTw'DIMAGA's base to put on a little bit of pressure, and mTw'DIMAGA sees that the spawning pool is not quite done yet. So I don't know if he's actually going to try to bunker, which if you play this perfectly, you can bunker right here. And I don't know if that fully closes off that space so that a couple Marines can sit back there, but it at least prevents a lot of surface area. So if that's what mTw'DIMAGA has in mind, he needs to do it now. And no, it just looks like he wants to continue to poke around and scout as these couple Marines are around on the map, searching for, I think they're overlord hunting right now to see if they can pick off an overlord from mTw'DIMAGA. But joke's on them, it's on the complete opposite side of the map, over here on Antigua's shipyard. It's apparently not shipyards, but I call it shipyards all the time. But mTw'DIMAGA is going to start sending out a scout. Here's the fast roach run once again out of mTw'DIMAGA, so he's going to be on roach tech very quickly. And he doesn't really know anything that mTw'DIMAGA is doing right now, so he's still fairly blind. If we take a look at his vision, he doesn't even actually know where mTw'DIMAGA is. He has to figure that he's already scouted one position and that's it. But he is going to scout the correct position now, and he's going to see the reactor Hellion opening once again, which will be easily thwarted by these defensive roaches if he chooses to use them that way. You can't really afford to be offensive roaching on this map and these rush distances. So it looks like these roaches are just to be heading out here to deflect this Hellion play. And I like that, actually. I don't think these roaches are intended to be offensive, and if mTw'DIMAGA went for something crazy like that double reactor Hellion play once again, these roaches would actually pay for themselves quite well versus these Hellions. But the two Hellions are going to come up here. This is very standard to see this in the very early game, and the two roaches pop out just in time to push those away. mTw'DIMAGA should know where mTw'DIMAGA's overlord is going to come in from, and he's just standing his Marines over here in the corner. So talk about covering all your bases. Average players would not think to do this kind of spin advance, to sit a couple of Marines right here, knowing that the overlord is probably going to float in this direction somewhere. But here come the roaches, so it looks like he does want to be fairly offensive with these roaches. mTw'DIMAGA is going to have a decent number of stuff out. This one Marauder is particularly going to devastate this army, so we'll keep an eye on the kind of damage that Marauder does. But he should be able to do a lot. The command center is now finishing up here for mTw'DIMAGA, and look at the drone pumping behind this for mTw'DIMAGA. He's not opting to take a third behind this roach pressure, but Here's the Marauder getting a shot or two on those Roaches, and the Roaches decide that if they see the Marauders, it's not really worth engaging right now because that could just be a complete donation. There's now 2 Marauders out, and some SCVs are pulled to repair this supply depot. So I think imba'BratOK is just going for a little bit of a delay on that orbital command landing. And it looks like, yeah, he's just going to sit in his base for a little while and land some mules and start some SCVs. Which, again, we need to pay a little bit of attention to imba'BratOK's muling, as he did mule out one of his mineral patches really early last game. Something you really don't want to do. I would be surprised, or rather I would not be surprised, if imba'BratOK took a very fast third, but look at all these Zerglings following this up. Seeing those Marauders and thinking he might have an opportunity to strike with Roach Zergling against Terran at this stage of the game when you see Marauder Hellion. That's very strange, but here comes this huge wave of Zerglings heading out here, and come on imba'BratOK, you need to take your third here fairly soon because you have utter map control right now, while the Terran player is still just on one base, but the Roaches are still just hanging out here. The Zerglings have stopped, so I don't know if he's expecting a drop or anything, but it's a little early for medevacs to be out as the starport is just now finishing up. Behind all this, he is starting a siege tech, so he can't press out of his base. imba'BratOK is forcing imba'BratOK into a little bit of a siege expand situation, which is pretty rare in this matchup nowadays, considering it's just a little too slow for a lot of people's tastes. These Roaches are going to die, though, if they decide to engage this, and it looks like they're just going to get stuck, as Stim now finishes concussive shells on the way, but all these Roaches are going to die really for nothing. So, wow, my computer is really having a hard time processing all this Roach death. But there's a couple of Zerglings that are going to try to save all this, but there's too many Hellions here. He's going to a lot of Zerglings and not really pay for themselves very well. He's getting decent surrounds, though, so it looks like he actually may clean this up, and I'm a little bit surprised. It's almost a perfectly even trade, as imba'BratOK just doesn't have very much on, or rather anything on the field, and imba'BratOK just has barely any SCVs. You can see the SCVs just sitting there and taking damage, not fighting back against these Zerglings. I don't know why. I think they were on hold position, but yeah, the Zerglings are going to force imba'BratOK back into his base once again, and imba'BratOK still has not taken a third, but he does have a hatchery coming up in the background, as well as 9 more drones. So look at this pressure from imba'BratOK, just pinning imba'BratOK back in his base. And now he knows that siege mode is done. He really can't afford to stay out here for too much longer, but he wants to delay that for as long as possible. The Overseer does get in here and see everything, so imba'BratOK is really controlling this game quite well. Look at this Changeling standing up here right next to the tank. He's just going to follow the tank around. That's pretty funny, but here's the medevac now loading up about 7 Marines, and he forgot the Changeling, so he does eventually just kill that. The third is now coming up from imba'BratOK quite a bit late, and again, look at these low supplies here at this stage of the game. It's almost 11 minutes and 58 to 50 supply, so huge army exchanges, but it kind of feels like neither player has had much of a tempo this game, which is, it's weird to think about tempo control in a matchup like this where both players can usually freely do basically whatever they want for a while. But this drop is going to be easily denied. He can't afford to lose any mutas here, so if imba'BratOK drops these out and is able to focus down one muta, that will be a huge loss. You can see he's spreading out the damage quite a bit on these mutas so that they can heal it up pretty fast. So no big deal there. The muta count is going to continue to grow. There's a couple more on the way, and 9 more drones. So imba'BratOK's income has got to be just devastating right now. No, only 38. So I'm surprised. I've seen huge waves of 9 drones come out at a time. He hasn't lost any, has he? No, I guess he lost 11 workers. It must have been due to a drop that we missed, so yeah, my fault. I guess these mutas could come in here and try to focus on this medevac, because they could, I think, get it in just one hit with all these, and the rocks help, of course. But yeah, this small drop over here is just trying to bug imba'BratOK just a little bit. There's a second drop, only with 5 Marines heading out to the third, going to try to pick off some more drones, as we can see now, and a small press out of a few tanks and like 8 or 9 Marines. Just heading out to the middle of the map. So imba'BratOK spreading himself a little bit thin here. A couple more drones do fall, and these drones are just hiding in the corner here, but I think as soon as this as the recovery comes, he's just going to redrop with these Marines here in the main. So the Marines do come over. The Queen can shoot at the medevac if it's targeted properly, and the drones look like they want to come off the line to fight these Marines, but they realize that's a bad idea. So the recovery is coming. He does clean up one of the drops as the medevac does die right there, but the second drop is in full force. And imba'BratOK in advance just picks up his medevac and is going to go load up, or rather unload his Marines on the other side, so that he can keep that safe for a little while longer. I think if these mutas just straight up engage that, though, they'd at least be able to kill the medevac pretty easily and put a stop to this. But imba'BratOK being fairly cautious about engaging here. He does have +1 for his mutas on the way, in addition to baneling speed, so he'll be able to engage that tank army here in a short while. And there's not many Marines accompanying these tanks, so I don't think that's going to do a ton of damage. But the mutas are now going to press over here, and imba'BratOK still just checking around to see what the status is on that drop. But if you can keep this medevac on low energy, that's kind of the goal here. So behind this, there's a lot of Zerglings getting ready to flank and kill these Marines easily, and they will get that done as they do get decent surface area off, and that drop gets picked apart so that imba'BratOK cannot, or rather does not have to worry so much about that anymore. But these rocks are now being blown down by imba'BratOK, and he's going to go up here and get a really nice position with these siege tanks. He does tuck one back here into the corner, and the rest of them are being spread out very well, putting them right on the edge so they can get as far up as possible while still being protected by Marines. So a fairly large engagement here as the mutas do sweep in. They'll be able to kill this tank easily with basically no muta losses. One muta lost. He's just going to target the tanks down, knowing that the Marine DPS just is terrible right now. But he is getting a little bit sandwiched by Marines. He does lose a couple of mutas, but that's actually okay because he just crushed that push pretty hard. He's losing a couple more mutas unnecessarily. He just needs to kill tanks and let his Zerglings do the rest of the work. As another round of 16 Zerglings is on the way. One terrible rally on this tank. He goes down for free. So that's unfortunate. But behind this, at least imba'BratOK was able to take a third, or at least get it built, and he's going to land it here in just a second, start establishing himself a little more out in the middle of the map. But the thing that's bad about that is that the walking distance on this map is really long in comparison to the flying distance, so these mutas could keep him contained for a really long time. That's a huge muta flock, at least for how many Marines are on the field, which is not very many. And there are 4 more mutas coming out here. Stim up, and the Marines are going to pick off at least one mutalisk, and down it goes. So trying to whittle down those numbers a little bit. I think imba'BratOK needs to wait just a little longer so these mutas can heal before he decides to press in. Behind this, it looks like imba'BratOK's going to go up to a second factory, probably for double siege tank production here, as he is now on 4 gases and doesn't need a ton more medevacs out. He is getting armor upgrades, as you can see, +1 armor on the way for his infantry. He does not have an armory to my knowledge, so he will want an armory to eventually get out Thors to deal with that huge muta ball. He's going to be 7 mutas on top of the 14 that are already out, 21 mutas, and that can keep you pinned in your base basically forever if you don't manage that correctly. So imba'BratOK needs to be careful here. His Marine count is dangerously low. He doesn't have very many turrets up here in his main. He is starting at least 1 more here on the side. He does have a couple here. It's okay, but 21 mutas can kill his turrets really fast. So, yeah, imba'BratOK still is only on these 3 bases. Hasn't even thought about taking a 4th quite yet, as it's now 17 minutes in the game. It's about time for him to take that 4th, especially considering his drone count should be about oversaturating him. No, he's only at 61 drones, so imba'BratOK really not droning very hard this game at all. So he's probably just kind of going July Zerg on us and just producing units. Whoop. And might just want to kill him with that. So you can see there's a lot of mutas over here. 16 mutas. Oh wait, no, it's only 15. One of them's rocks again. Mutas coming over here trying to see what they can do, see if they can pick anything off, and they will get this 1 turret easily. And the Marines show no reaction. No, he does stim the whole thing, and these mutas may actually get caught. And this is terrible for him to just fly in there like that and be surrounded by Marines. And he loses a bunch of mutas for free and stops them. He's turned around to re-engage these stim Marines once again. So imba'BratOK being pretty sloppy here with his muta control, as imba'BratOK is now setting up his 3rd. Again, it just feels like kind of a slow game. But imba'BratOK getting all of his mutas out, and he's just being really risky with these. He needs to be careful. Those are basically your muscle in this matchup, and he picks off a drop here, so really nice, and starts a hatch at the same time. So imba'BratOK at least establishing himself on the map quite well, but I just think he's on too few drones. He's starting a 2nd hatchery, so he's going to be double expanding right now, knowing that he has so much map control. But he needs to be careful because imba'BratOK's numbers are swelling. He's going to be on this 3rd base here pretty soon. Look at all these mules landing. He'll be able to just flood out Marines if he has the production behind it, which he surprisingly doesn't. He needs more barracks being put up. And, oh yeah, just as I say that, there's 3 barracks building over here on the left side. A bunch of mutas still flying around in this pack. A lot of Zerglings hanging out in the middle of the map as well. So imba'BratOK is just getting ready for what might come. And here come the mutalisks harassing in here once again. And this is about the time where imba'BratOK needs to get aggressive with these mutas to prevent imba'BratOK from moving out on the map when he's trying to double expand behind it. He won't be able to handle that in just a straight up fight, especially since he has like no banelings, but again, he just starts morphing them as soon as I say it. So a lot of mutas still hanging out here in the middle of the map. He's going to pick off 2 tanks basically for free, not even losing a single mutalisk, and that's exactly what you want if you're Zerg. The supply lead is now heavily favoring imba'BratOK, up by about 45 supply. Turret goes down as well, and still no muta losses. So his muta control looks like it's getting a little better. And imba'BratOK is going to be maxed here pretty soon. 194 is his cap. He just doesn't have quite enough gas. I think he needs to really get these 2 bases established, or at least mining gas, so he can get on hive tech before the Terran is able to recover. It looks like 3 tech labs are going down here on these barracks, and this may actually be for ghosts. here in this late game. Infestors are now on the way, or at least the infestation pit. Starting back up here in imba'BratOK's base. I think it's this blob right here. Yep. And he'll have infestors, or at least the tech on the field, to get up to hive, but you really need to be able to support that with a lot more gas mining, as there's no mining going on at these bases quite yet. They did just finish, but that needs to really be his focus here in the near future. imba'BratOK is about ready for a supply dump, so we're going to see a pretty big battle here fairly soon. imba'BratOK still not losing any mutas and picking off small targets here and there. So kind of keeping imba'BratOK's forces at bay, and imba'BratOK advancing turrets as he presses up here. It's fairly strange, and bunkers. So imba'BratOK defending quite hard, trying to buy time to get those ghosts out, as once you get tons of ghosts as Terran versus Zerg, it's really hard to lose, as we've seen from plenty of pro matches thus far. Even one from this very tournament, as the finals were kind of decided by that. But here come the mutas up here, killing a couple of Marines. All these SCVs are at risk. This turret's going to fall in no time. You can see all the Marines, or rather all the mutas, are being focused on the turrets and picking off SCVs at the same time. He still has only lost, I think, even no mutas yet. He does fly into a bunch of Marines, and that's a bad idea. He does lose one muta there, but he's still managing this quite well. Killing a lot of workers there and killing the turrets, making him have to rebuild a bunch of them here. Just basically keeping him in his base for a long time. He can now pool a lot of money. There's going to be a lot of banelings coming out here. It's 24 in addition to the, 17 already up. So it's going to be a ton of banelings. There's a sufficient tank count out though, so imba'BratOK needs to be careful with those. He can't just roll them all in at the same time. Thor production is now starting up for imba'BratOK. So we can see 2 Thors are on the way from the production tab. Small group of banelings getting separated from the main pack, and it looks like all those banelings just died for no reason. They actually didn't do any damage. The mutas now have to fall back, and it wasn't quite all of his banelings, but that was quite wasteful to have used all those and killed almost no Marines. You can see the supply difference is now evening out because imba'BratOK just donated a bunch of supply to imba'BratOK. He needs to dump supply anyway so he can get his hive units on the field. That's not a big deal. Oh, huge baneling detonation on those Marines, so there's very cost-effective banelings to make up for that. And imba'BratOK just slow pushing his way across the map to try and get this command center established here at the gold. And this Mutaflock is really getting big, but there's really not many upgrades on there. Just 1-1, so no +2 attack, no +2 armor or anything. One Marine's getting really brave, and he actually kills a Muta by himself, so hero Marine there. The creep is starting to recede so that imba'BratOK can actually take that base. So this is a really weird, slow, positional ZVT, whereas usually Terrans are a lot more aggressive, and Zerg's responsibility is just to put an end to that aggression. Both of them developing very slowly into this. I'm really worried for imba'BratOK now that the Greater Spire is on the way, because he's going to have to start pumping ghosts, and he just doesn't have the gas income to support that. As we can see, one of his geysers in his main is mined out. The second one only has about 500 gas, so that'll be mined out here pretty soon as well. +3 on the way for melee attackers for imba'BratOK, and there's 7 Corruptors, which will no doubt be used for Broodlords once he gets that ready. And again, we're going to see another fairly large battle here in just a second to dump supply for imba'BratOK, because Broodlords take additional supply once they're morphed. And he does lose a couple of mutas. That's not what you want to supply dump with. You want to supply dump with Zerglings if you can help it. So imba'BratOK really spreading his army out here quite creatively, and the creep spread is really supporting this quite well, so that he can basically surround imba'BratOK's army from every angle. But there's so many tanks here. That's actually a ton of tanks. It looks like 13 tanks. There's no way that's not broodlings. Those are banelings. There's no way banelings are going to do too much damage to all that. So that's probably what he's just going to have to supply dump. There's 6 spore crawlers on the way here. I think those were actually just to free up supply. We'll probably see those get cancelled here in just a second. But the Broodlords are morphing here in the middle of the map. And yeah, look, imba'BratOK doing the old trick of making a whole bunch of units and then cancelling them so that he can get extra supply. He's at 207 over 200 supply right now. Look at this massive push out from imba'BratOK, and if imba'BratOK can actually see those Broodlords, he's going to know, oh crap, I need to put out something to deal with those. He does have Vikings on the way and another starport. Huge baneling detonations once again to take out these Marines, so at least he's getting good trades on those, whereas the tanks should be able to eat those up in regular straight-on battles. imba'BratOK has this center position, and that's going to be really important right now, especially since imba'BratOK's Viking count is fairly low. So the Broodlords are starting to besiege the gold. The Vikings do press up here, and Mutas can come up here to recover, but he's instead just going to use Infestor energy to just go ahead and fungal those Vikings, and this is a very bad situation for imba'BratOK to be in right now. He's able to kill these Broodlords pretty fast, or not Broodlords, but Broodlings. The Broodlords are starting to clump up here just a little bit. One of them is on low health, and it's just a matter of time before imba'BratOK is just going to have to give up this position because he got too far behind in the battle of being able to deal with those. Vikings now press up here, and Marines all get fungled, so all these Vikings are going to die fairly easily, or no, it looks like imba'BratOK is not going to be overly aggressive with those. 11 Corruptors on the way right now. As you can see, imba'BratOK's income is going to start skyrocketing from getting those extra bases, and especially those extra gas geysers to pump into this army. But bratOK's just sitting here on his gold. He lost almost every worker at this gold expansion, and his income has got to really be suffering right now. As we can see, he's only at 700 minerals per minute as far as income goes, and his third base is fairly low, but he's not mining very well there. His second base is way oversaturated, so he needs to transfer SCVs here right away so he can get that mining up the best he can. But one queen is being pulled for transfuses, I would assume. So no, it's just going to be to continue to spread creep. He is pulling a second queen here, so I think he actually is going to start transfusing all of his hurt units. There's a couple Marines out here that are going to die easily. The Corruptors decide to just block the way. +3 armor on the way for bratOK as well, but again, if you're Terran and you get in this situation and you're not ahead of them in terms of dealing with what they have on the field before they get on the field, you might just die, and bratOK is really struggling right now. He had no ghosts and no Vikings to deal with all these broodlords that are in the air. There's going to be a ton of broodlords. That's going to be 11 broodlords in the air as soon as these ones hatch. And all the Vikings know that's a big Viking count, and this can be fairly dangerous because this is a lot of Vikings, and he just used all of his Corruptors to turn them into broodlords. So he needs to be able to use his infestor energy wisely. He does have queens too, and queens do help against Vikings, but they don't kill them overly fast. Especially upgraded Vikings. I'm not sure what the upgrades are on here. Nope, just 0-0. Tanks do press up here, and here's going to be a nice little donation of tanks. He is advancing as much as he possibly can to try and kill the anti-air, of the Zerg player so that he can focus down the broodlords very well. Big fungals going off on all the mech, but the broodlords are taking a ton of damage, and the infestors really need to drop fungal growths here on these Vikings. The units are going to come up here and clean all these up quite a bit, so I think this is actually going to be it for bratOK because there's just way too many broodlords still in the sky. There are still infestors up, but they don't have the energy, and there's just not a whole lot that the Terran player can do to these broodlords right now, unless he gets Viking reinforcements, which he actually is. So he is pressing this off just a little bit. Banelings flank from the side, and they actually take a ton of damage and don't do a lot of damage in return. So both players' supply falling quite a bit after this battle. imba'BratOK is going to lose all of his broodlords here, so he actually might still lose this. 66 Zerglings are rallying out right now, and this is desperation time for bratOK right now. imba'BratOK really should not be in this position because he has 3,000 minerals banked. All these Zerglings rallying out here in single file, but they should be able to clean all this up since there's so much stuff all rallying here at the same time. There's a lot of useless Vikings still in the air. They are killing Corruptors, which is okay, I guess, but they're still not doing all that much. Look at all these Thors flying away in the medevacs. So a really weird army exchange there, but imba'BratOK has so much money banked up for such little supply, and he's not making anything, so he must be really larva blocked right now, which is strange. I mean, this is why you really need to keep on your injects and keep pooling larva, because look how little larva there is sitting around at every base. And you need to be able to replenish your army like this, especially if you're floating 3,000 resources and 1,000 gas. You need to be able to just churn everything out. If he just went all Zerglings right now, he would actually win. So this is definitely why you need to stay on top of those injects. 2 Marines are pressing up here trying to kill infestors, but the Zerglings are going to arrive and push those off immediately. You can see a small drop over here cleaned up easily with all these Banelings, and imba'BratOK morphing a bunch of Banelings within the view of bratOK. So I think imba'BratOK knows he has this one, but still, it feels like it's taking him forever to get there because he's still on 2,000 minerals and he's not anywhere near maxed. I mean, I guess he is somewhat near. bratOK moving in here, killing a lot of SCVs now, and cleaning up a lot of these, and one Baneling detonation would do a lot, and it actually does. So there's only a few Marines here. He's going to have to get out of there. A lot of more is drones transferring. I'm actually curious what his income is right now. Only 57 drones. Again, he's staying on really low drone counts. A couple of Zerglings counterattacking here, trying to kill SCVs. They do get pressed out here. It looks like he just wants to scout and see what bratOK actually has. Again, a lot more idle SCVs at this expansion here. bratOK is almost mined out of the gold, so both players are really just kind of running out of steam here. It looks like they're both quite fatigued, but if you're imba'BratOK, you need to put out extra queens right now and stop being larva blocked, because if you just had a round of Zerglings, you have 3 Zerglings out, and it would just end the game right now. So yeah, I mean, it just feels like he's being a little too passive. He could be just letting his guard up quite a bit because he knows he's won. Oh, big Baneling here, hurting all these Marines quite a bit. More Baneling detonations, and all these drops from bratOK being turned away quite easily. There's 3 Thors out, a bunch of Marines here in the middle of the map, trying to protect this last mining base, essentially, as there's almost nothing left here for bratOK here at his third. but a lot more Broodlords are morphing, as we can see 3 more on the way, in addition to the several that are out on the field with Infestor support and Zerglings. imba'BratOK is now flirting with max once again, and bratOK has nowhere near max, so I think this is actually going to be the nail in the coffin, as bratOK has really slowed down here, mostly just because of mining problems. You can see bratOK is trying to land another base, but imba'BratOK is all over that. There's no way he's going to let that get up. We can see the Ultra-Soldiers or Broodlords sieging this gas, so he's just trying to poke at bratOK in whatever way he possibly can to gain an advantage. He doesn't want to overcommit and throw all of his Zerglings against this planetary fortress, though. Look how much gas bratOK is floating, 3,200 gas that he's not using. You could even just dump that into Ravens right now, which Ravens won't do anything to Broodlords, but you could at least set down some auto turrets or something. At least spend your gas on something. Like, you can't lose a game and be sitting on 3,500 gas and just think that's okay. So both these players making a fair amount of mistakes, but here comes the press up once again out of imba'BratOK, and all of the Broodlings, these are 3/3 Broodlings, so they're going to rip through anything they fight, and all the SCVs have to be pulled off to repair at a time where bratOK can't afford to stop mining. All these Thors go down easily. There's a lot of Vikings in the air as well, and now that the Thors are out of the picture, I don't think there's really any way that bratOK can hold this off. He is producing 3 more Vikings to try to stop this advancement. But there is so much energy on these Infestors, they could just Bone Growth these Vikings all to death and win the game from there. But now the supplies really showing the difference in this game. Almost 100 supply difference between the two of them, and imba'BratOK can actually afford to just throw away units right now. Here's another small drop of Marines and a few medevacs, just kind of the last chance to try to get bratOK back into this game, but he's so far behind right now that I don't think that's really going to help. All the Vikings fighting the Broodlords, but they're all fungled, and they're all grouped up quite a bit, so it looks like bratOK has to say good game. I believe that was the elimination game from the tournament, so bratOK did get eliminated here in this game out of Blizzcon. So yeah, interesting game there. Both players slowing down quite a bit. I really want to point out once again how you really need to manage your larva there in the late game, because if you're sitting on 4,000 minerals and it's even a close game, like there was a point where imba'BratOK could have actually lost that when he had just a few Broodlords out here in the middle of the map, and bratOK still had a lot of stuff on the field. If bratOK had sieged his tanks or had a few more tanks in there instead of Thors, imba'BratOK could have just lost because he didn't stay on top of his larva injects. So yeah, that's really the standout thing. bratOK just got contained because imba'BratOK had map control basically the whole game. So interesting game and interesting series. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I'll be back for more casts and especially some stuff from MLG here in the near future, as those replays did just get released to the public. So we'll take a look at some of those games that were a lot of fun from that event from Orlando, and we'll see you there in just a second.